Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, Dax.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you. With that in mind, what you just said, the only location that they considered was the old drugstore. And by us limiting residential areas, they're not currently in consideration. So we're not violating any right, because that area is in a restricted safe zone. So I'm not as concerned about that. About limiting other areas, i.e. Old County Road, or pick any road on this map, because there's no intent at this point. So I do believe that as a town, with this moratorium vote, we should be very judicious in where we put these zones. And
Did you just use the Z word?
judicious. In the zone, so,
Yeah, a couple of things, Don, if you don't mind me.
Go ahead.
So, I mean, this is zoning. There's no other way about it because you're looking at different uses in different areas. That is what it is. But also, and I said this in the last meeting, and I know you weren't here, so I'll just. I know it's very difficult to do, also, but you've also got to consider try not to entirely frame this discussion entirely based on what we know about one application or one potential application. Obviously, that's why it's come up, but you got to think, in 5-10 years' time, is this going to be, workable for any other situation?
perfect. My next question, can we do what Skowhegan did?
Exactly. I mean, there's
We don't want
well, no, you can't. Well, you can make it. You can't outright prohibit any use in town. You can make it, fairly
them. Can I ask
quite flatly.
why? Because Skowhegan did.
No.
You cannot put a clinic in Skowhegan.
Did they? I'm pretty sure that they just kind of regulated it so much so that it was more or less difficult for someone to do so. I think you can't outright prohibit a use. So I don't know how we would have concluded that.
Where was that letter that they had requested? It got requested and Skowhegan said, no, it's not coming in Skowhegan. And it's the reason why they didn't go there, because they came
Is
2
that-
years ago.
Is that because of your ordinance, though?
I'm asked, I don't work with Skowhegan anymore, this is after my time, but right as I was getting off the board, they requested one of these clinics in Skowhegan, and it got voted down. It is not going in Skowhegan.
I remember working out. I mean, this controlled substance facility ordinance is based on the Skowhegan ordinance, and like I say, you can't outright prohibit something unless it's got like a state law mandate. But you can make it. I think we did similar where we made it
Very restricted.
very restrictive, and I think we did significant boundaries around safe zones, which excluded all of the areas that they were interested in. And then, so that was essentially the way to kind of stop them from continuing with their application, because they had some sites that they wanted to look at downtown. So I think they enacted something like similar to what we're looking at, where it basically took all those out of the equation, and then hence they decided not to pursue that.
But this case is different, correct, Denise, because we don't have an ordinance in place, and we have already gotten that letter of request for that, so it's a different situation.
But there's nothing formally being applied for, so
Yeah,
there's
Sure,
nothing.
nothing has been applied for.
Yeah.
What we got was notification. They asked us if we had any zoning that would prohibit them, and we don't. So that was the response to them back in October. And then the other part of it is the safe zones, correct me if I'm wrong, Joel, but the safe zones are designed to prohibit unlawful drug use and possession and sale and
Yeah,
like that.
and
What
it's
Acadia does is
extended
not
penalty.
illegal.
Right.
Right.
They
it
had
elevates
a
crime.
medicated program that is fully sanctioned and licensed and monitored. So even within safe zones, it doesn't apply to Acadia. So one of the things that we need to consider is the legal balance along with the social balance and, being responsible
Yeah, we're only referencing the safe zones just because they're already a pre-existing list, which we
Right.
would consider, inappropriate for certain uses to go in proximity to. Nothing to do with the original intent behind the safe zones. We're just utilising those for ease of,
And the public was very clear, very adamant, Taylor's was not the appropriate location. And the sentiment that I got at town meeting was, there were a few people that said, not at all. The majority of people said, I don't like it, but okay, but find a different location.
yeah, you can't be.
That was the strongest message that I got.
We can't outright prohibit a legal use of anything.
Right.
We can regulate it and regulate to the point where it becomes very difficult.
And I guess my point to that would be, Denise, is if we said, okay, we're gonna stay with these safe zones, and someone is gonna come onto Town Road, which is right between those two little safe zones,
Mhm.
and we're gonna put in a clinic. The people within that little zone are gonna become opposed to it very quickly.
Well, that leads me to another thing that came from the meeting last night, which was, yeah, I'm familiar. Selectman Moody and Chairman Venziano want to be able to have some kind of a neighborhood buffer zone from residential properties.
And I would,
And I was told to bring that tonight.
with regards to this ordinance, is what you're saying, I would totally concur with them. Yeah. And that's why I would go back to, I like the idea of commercial 201, Skowhegan Town Line to
White Schoolhouse Road.
Right.
White Schoolhouse Road.
And that was our
And
initial.
but you have to include the business park.
Right.
Do we?
I think you do.
Mhm.
Well, it's next to a school.
It's more than 1,000 feet away from the school.
You can see how much.
What's
On
one
the
road?
east side.
You can see how much is covered there by the.
So the animal hospital would fit, would be permitted in there.
Okay.
So, the old animal hospital. So,
The animal hospital also administers
To animals.
to animals.
right.
Yeah, we
But that's-
make sure in like applicability that it doesn't
Little
involve,
difference
technically involve like a pharmacy is
Mhm.
has controlled substances
Right.
upon them, but we'll make sure we,
Right.
that's why we have the definitions, hopefully, and applicability to make sure that those don't fall under.
And if a pharmacy ever came back to Madison and wanted to be up in the business park, anyway.
But if a pharmacy came back to Madison, they could take, Taylor's Drug Store, there was never any, I think the perception is different,
Absolutely.
very much different. We're talking about a treatment facility for people who are trying to control that addiction versus a pharmacy that treats everybody. So, I mean, there's a very clear-cut difference
Yeah.
between those. So these safe zones on the map, do they match up here? I mean, they incorporate here. What is over on Whittier Farm, off Whittier Farm Road? In East Madison, what is that?
But I think they become irrelevant.
That's the fire station.
It's,
The fire station would be the
Why is that a
basketball courts.
Okay, all right, and this is the boat, the
The
beach?
boat landing in the beach.
And the beaches, okay, all right.
I mean, in that case, is the Skowhegan Art School, is that?
Yeah, that's a dog.
But it becomes irrelevant, safe zones become irrelevant if we say it's Skowhegan Town Line
Mhm.
to White Schoolhouse Road.
That's how you wanna do it, yeah.
And then the business park, it becomes only on that
Yes.
ordinance. Everything else becomes irrelevant, we don't need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. We don't
Go ahead,
need the
Mark.
next to a house or any of that, it's done.
Mark, did you have a comment?
I was just supporting that.
Yeah.
If we specify areas where it can be, we don't have to talk about safe zones where it can't be.
Correct.
Mary?
Correct.
Why,
That's correct.
why isn't White Schoolhouse cornered where the two churches are? a safe zone.
Because the church is not on it's not on Lakewood Road. It's behind the
Pentecostal?
propane.
The Pentecostal.
Yeah, there's no way anyone's gonna be building anything there because that's already developed. Well, unless the car dealership went out of business and then,
Well, to Craig's point, I guess the question is, are we saying a church is a safe zone?
yes.
I don't.
It's not in the ordinance right
It's
now.
not in the ordinance.
It's not.
Oh, it's not in
Should
the
it be?
ordinance.
Should it be is another question.
Well,
We
you
had,
challenge the business park
Well, I mean,
close to the school with their borderline, and then you've got a weak church.
we
right out
did
front.
have churches, but there was some discussion about changing that to religious organizations on the
Yeah.
safe zones. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, on this paper, this is all town-owned property,
Mhm.
and it belongs there, because we have to post signs
Yep.
to be enforced. When we start including private places, churches, others, I ain't saying they don't belong on a list, they just don't belong on this list.
Okay.
If we come up to another list and started adding that by the town's vote or whatever, you know, I'm all for it, but I don't think we can put it on this list with the town-owned properties. I think it should be separated in a different ordinance.
again, though, Don, like you say, if we're going the other way, then it's kind of irrelevant what the safe zones are. If we're just
Right.
gonna,
Well, unless we start debating that there are two churches on 201. and
Okay,
therefore, if we
right,
go
fair.
1,000 feet out, we're really whittling her down.
And we can't make an exception for Crossroads if we don't make an exception for the others
Yeah,
on that road.
And there's those two,
Right.
yes.
And the one that has, we covered it.
And honestly, what is the intent of a safe zone? And if we're intending to protect children on a playground, or in an area where they can recreate,
Right.
lake, etc. Crossroads has softball fields, playgrounds, has homeschooling sometimes. Are we doing a disservice by not including that for that area? And I just want to be careful that we're equal to all causes.
But could Crossroads challenge you, where you do it for one, not them?
But we're not doing it for any of the.
Right now, we're not. I'm saying, should we? Because we are doing it for schools, softball fields, recreation areas, lake, but we're not.
But we're not though,
I'm
Don.
with you.
The
Don,
Pentecostal, they call it a campus, and they have,
right, but we're not, because if we just limit it to that section of Lakewood Road, then we're not dealing with safe zones.
okay.
Right, but if someone located at the Bates, Bolts and Bullets, that's within 1,000 feet of that church. If someone located at Charlie and Sons, they bought the lot,
Right.
or any of those
Right,
places,
they
those
would
are
be-
all within 1,000 feet of that. And if we don't have that as a designated area, are we doing them a disservice? And I
That's a
get,
good point.
I'm scared because we're limiting it, and limiting it, and limiting it. But are we doing that facility a disservice? If we're here to protect the children on this playground right here, should we not be equally protecting the children on that playground right there?
Good point. Any other comments on that? Mark or Robin, do you have any comment?
Yeah, I think that's right, that once we designate an area or two areas that they can be located in, we definitely need to pay attention to what's there right now that might need to be restricted somehow.
I agree with Mark.
Mark, can I ask you a question? Would you support, because safe zones in town aren't gonna matter because we can only allow 201. So in that case,
Right.
would 500 feet be justifiable to allow the more space rather than 1,000 feet? You know what I'm saying?
Sure, yep. And a church is different than a playground.
Yep.
But Crossroads does have the athletic fields
And a playground.
and the playground, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
And you don't have to be a member of that church to use it,
right.
so it's open to the public.
And the other church doesn't have any of that. You go for your service and
Right.
there aren't any places for children.
So, Mike, to move this conversation forward, could we agree that within a playground surface like that, we go 500 feet? because it's not gonna matter in town, because they can only be on that stretch. So we're taking kids 500, we're taking those clinics 500 feet away from that church and playground. I'm okay with that.
Is this saying that,
In that zone only, because that's the only zone we can build it.
Right.
is this saying that a church and playground though is distinctly different than, a resident from any other private land use that happens to have a playground on its site? And
No, I agree with you.
because, you know, and that's
because
not
they can't-
necessarily going to be the land use on that lot forever. I'm just trying to think long term and how,
I
you know.
agree. There's the Yogi Bear campground.
yeah,
How do you,
I'm just trying to think about making sure this is. I mean, obviously the intention is the intention, but I'm just saying if someone, you know, a church can set up anywhere and can set up a playground that's open to anyone, but it's just kind of. I mean, at least these are all safe zones are identified as municipally kind of owned and monitored.
By the town.
So, again, it's just a thing about, you know, private land uses being compatible, which are going to be, you know, long term.
How have other communities?
You're getting into much more complicated.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
how have other communities dealt with something like that? Or have they?
Well, most communities usually go with the opposite way, where they will just have certain solidified municipally owned / operated areas that they will then exclude away from, as opposed to areas where it is allowed. That's going to be the problem, I think, because, you know, you literally, you know, you've got other uses along that strip that some people might consider incompatible to being next to a playground as well. You know, you've got
2 marijuana shops?
Yeah.
whatever it might be.
got a gun shop?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I hear you, but we're not being asked to write that ordinance.
I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about. We're pretty much now into just like land use zoning. So we're just talking about how land use is being compatible, and land uses, you know, change, and the difficulty of legislating based off current land uses as opposed to, you know, future and quite frankly, you know, private rights to develop your property however you wish.
See, I don't think we're taking a different tack than other towns are taking with regards to this ordinance. I think they've been very restrictive and very limited as to where they'll put these places.
I'm not disputing, and I'm just saying
And
that
so,
there's some.
in my book, I'm totally okay with limiting this down to, here you go. And
Okay.
I hear you, but
If, my concern is that if we make that exception for Crossroads, and then we have the other church down the way that right now does not have a playground, that we say we don't include them at this
It is a
point.
playground.
Pardon?
There's no other campus. They have something like Boy Scouts, Girl
What are you
Scouts,
talking about?
Pentecostal, log cabin church.
They don't do it there, do they?
Yes, they
Thought
do.
do that. But it's one thing to have meetings and so on there, but there's no playground per se. That's definitely identified as a playground that people can use, and baseball fields. So if we just limit Crossroads, then to me that is, and we don't do something for the other church down there. I
how
don't think
about
that
for this
sets up a
use,
problem.
we open up the business park? They wanna come in and
Well, no,
build,
we did already
Yeah,
agree
we
with this
included-
business park.
but I'm saying,
Eastern side.
take 201 off of it. Just say, you can go in the business park.
You don't
There's
want to
a-
build.
There's a facility they can purchase, there's land they can build on, there's,
But we need to think down the road though, because there may be some other facility want to come in, and then they would be limited as well. Go ahead, Jay.
How about 500 feet from any structure or business on that corridor?
yeah, I like that.
I mean, because, I know we
Then
want
you're
to do
protecting
Crossroads, which I believe, 100% I believe the private Crossroad, but say Bates Bolts and Bullets say, well, that ain't fair to me, so I'm gonna have a family day once a month and buy some kiddie pools and to try to get in there. So if we just say 500 feet away from every existing structure from this date,
If you say that, then,
we can exclude the business park, that can be separate.
okay.
But on that corridor, if there's enough land down there, if somebody wants to come in and buy 15 acres and put something in the middle of it,
Thank you. I
Yeah.
100% agree with you, Jeff.
Take-
And that's the corridor, from Skowhegan to White Schoolhouse and the business park,
Right.
not within 500 feet of another
Yeah,
structure.
you can set setbacks for that particular use.
I totally concur.
that way everything's,
That way we
Yeah,
cover it.
there's enough fields down there, if somebody really wanted to do something.
And with that, the comprehensive plan is just,
Doesn't this have to be voted on by the?
Yeah,
Yes, we are going with the recommendation.
Yeah.
we just have to come up with something to give to them.
Yeah.
Okay, Robin
So,
and
if
Mark,
you
do
got a
you
problem,
have
bring it up.
any comments on that? To add?
To be honest with you, Mary, it's getting a little
Okay, the idea was.
bit too much going back and forth.
Okay, the thought is to continue with the restriction from White Schoolhouse Road to the Skowhegan Town Line on 201, and put a restriction of 500 feet from any business,
Existing,
Any
every,
existing structure.
any
household,
existing
Yeah,
structure.
of any kind of use,
of
yeah.
any kind of use.
Yeah.
Do you want me to repeat that, Robin?
Okay, did you get that, Robin?
Yeah, I'm just thinking.
Okay.
No, I guess I don't have an issue with that.
And the business
That's
park
what
is
you
still
were-
available.
Yes.
Without setbacks.
Without setbacks in the business park.
Yeah.
right. As long as they maintain the safe zone.
Yeah,
Existing
well,
safe zone.
the business park is, yeah.
East side,
The east side of the business park.
Did you hear that, Robin?
Yeah, and to confirm, the east side of the business park is where the animal hospital is, correct?
Correct. And there would be no 500-foot restriction, there'd be no setbacks for that, only on 201.
Okay.
You good with that?
Pardon me?
Are you good with that?
Yep.
Okay, Mark, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm good with that. That's reasonable and supportable.
So just to check on the details, are we saying, so basically it's parcels, or they have to abut that 201 corridor, so they have to have road frontage on that 201 corridor from White Schoolhouse Lane down to the thing, and then, but not 500 feet from any other structure of any use.
Correct.
And we say primary structure, right, so not like a,
Yeah.
Not a
Parking
garage.
storage shed.
right.
okay, that gives us quite a nice,
And then plus the
Solid
east
thing.
side of the business park with
Yeah,
no
yeah,
setbacks.
that east side without any setbacks there, so you've got, like you said, there's plenty of developable land
Yeah.
in both of those
100%.
locations,
There's plenty of it.
so it's not too restrictive in terms of preventing someone from,
Right.
yeah, okay.
And buy 4 acres and put it in the middle.
Go by Walter's Tree Fountain.
And they
Good
can,
tree fund,
there's plenty of land out there for sale already.
yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
Okay.
there's plenty of land. Somebody wants to, makes it simple.
Okay, anything more on, now, we needed definitions, right? We were going to add some other definitions besides controlled substance.
Yeah, we were gonna tighten up, well, we're gonna give proper definitions for everything now that we know what we're dealing with,
So you'll come up with those definitions?
yeah,
Oh,
probably
okay.
so we're going to rewrite the 170. We're going to take any reference out to marijuana, seeing as that's been treated as a different. We'll make sure that the definitions are tight. We'll make sure we're not going to catch any other uses, such as like other regular pharmacies and such things that might technically have controlled substances, but not be, what we're trying to work with here.
From a technical standpoint, and I'm asking this as a differentiation, a pharmacy does not deliver drugs on site to a patient. They're not giving them that drug to take on site.
Oh, on the premises.
They're not administering the drug.
Yeah.
These facilities are administering the drug on site. Is that, I think there could be a legal distinction.
Oh yeah, we'll make sure we
Like,
get
that's
that,
where.
we get that nailed down so that there's no ambiguity there.
Pharmacies do administer drugs on site.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
Vaccine.
yeah.
Vaccines, for example,
Right.
It's a drug.
Okay.
insulin.
Well,
You're
can
probably
be-
thinking about the class like 2, 3, 4, such, but again, we'll get that cleared up and
Yeah,
write down.
make sure that,
Yeah, okay, cool.
and so if we're not, is there still any need to, I know we were talking about potentially adding or adjusting the safe zones, but if we're not gonna go that route, we just wanna leave that safe zones list alone?
I think you should leave the safe zone ordinance alone.
Mhm.
Yeah, especially if we're not gonna rely on it for this, because we're going the other way now, so. okay.
Because that's for drug dealing.
Yeah, and that's increased penalties for anyone, yeah, with that.
That'll be a separate ordinance for,
Right.
Yeah.
We'll do that. Okay.
Okay, so thank you for the clear feedback there. We'll be able to go away and get something nice and clean together on that.
Okay, great. All right, anything else on chapter 170? Are we good? Yes.
I would like to know if we can get some kind of a commitment from the planning board so that I can go back to Acadia and let them know that as long as they're looking at the east side of the business park or the 201 corridor from White Schoolhouse Road to Skowhegan Town Line, that we're not going to try to stop them if they put in a building permit application.
I don't think we can do that until the town votes.
So it's the, yeah, because
We're exposing ourselves to something that we can't control until the town says it's okay.
Okay, that's what we talked about last week.
I think yeah, you
last
can
time.
say this is where the direction we're going, but there's no guarantee until there's that town vote and it passes.
Okay.
Is there anything else in there that anyone would like to see in terms of performance standards that go above and beyond, you know, what's already on like a site plan review or something? Is there any specific things that we might need to address that are relative to this use that might not be caught in any other kind of review? You know, I mean, we're increasing a physical buffer, security-wise, or other things like that we might want to just make sure that are included in this to shore up any other concerns.
I don't,
Craig?
If a bar gets so many complaints about problems inside the bar, outside the doors, we can revoke their license, all right? In a vote. Am I right?
In terms of liquor licensing, I'm not quite sure how it works in
Yes,
Madison.
you can. Yes, you can. What if we get a lot of complaints about drug dealing on site? They go through the police, sheriff, whatever.
So that would require, which is not necessarily a problem, but we would require like the town to issue a specific license for this kind of use, aside from a site, you know, because you've got your land use permit, which is, you know, kind of the physical nature of the site and stuff. And if the town wants to issue
Business
a
license.
business license specific to that use, which has those conditions, which I guess in the same way, do you guys do local liquor licensing here or anything?
Yes.
So in the same way,
It goes before the select board.
so you might be
Just
able,
looking down the road for complaints.
Right.
yeah, so I mean, it wouldn't go necessarily through the land use side of things, the planning board side of things, but if the town wants to have a special licensing requirement for these uses that have those standards, which then can be revoked if there are problems, that's a kind of a separate.
But you've got teeth to kind
Yeah, I know.
of get them back into line, that's all.
In the same way that a bar would come for a license, then something like this would also need a local license to.
so I would ask if there's a town that has instituted this, that maybe we could bring that policy to us. Because I don't think that's a bad idea.
No.
I would just like to see one in writing to say, this is how we handle that situation. We're not reinventing the wheel here.
No,
It's been done.
don't we do that for the 5 medical marijuana places as well?
Do what?
No certain
We could
conditions.
probably write it into this 270.
There's laws they have to do.
Would that business license be part of this 170, or would that be?
I don't see why not. I think if
Okay.
we're dealing, this is specifically about this use, we can put in a licensing requirement there to the town, and put in that if there was, like I say, we'll do a bit of research. We'll make sure it lines up with reasonable
So,
things.
okay, is that agreeable?
Does that sound okay, Denise?
Okay,
Eric?
yes, Jay.
Yeah, because we do the liquor license, we also do the game to chance, right?
Right.
Can we do
Yeah.
not only that clinic, but the medical marijuana one? Can we add that with it somehow?
In their
That's
own,
a separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
in 270.
So, I mean, I know they're all medical marijuana and you have a card, but you could still have people going in there abusing it and selling people that don't. You get enough complaints, it gives you teeth to.
So that would go under chapter 180, which
Yeah.
is drugs and drug paraphernalia, which the town has asked to revisit that ordinance
Yeah.
after we get the moratorium done.
Yep.
And do we ever ask these companies to bond to the town?
I don't know. I don't think so. Nothing
Never
outside
I
of.
wonder if that's in, just from,
Bond for what?
we get, and I'm going out there, this is out there, but I'm trying to think of how to protect the town, so. We say, okay, come on in, you can operate in the business park. Guy or gal goes there, gets treatment, goes out afterwards,
Crashes right
drives their
into-
car home and wipes out a family. Has the town in some way facilitated this facility where we would have a bond, they would post a bond for that?
Well, do you bond for bars?
No.
We,
Our marijuana facility?
well, we do have bars that have to carry liquor liability, I mean, I don't know. what
Right, but
these guys-
they don't bond with the town for that.
I understand, but that's part of their license. Is this part of the state license? I don't know. A bar can't operate without liquor liability.
Understood, yeah. I understand.
Can these be? I don't know. I've never done
The-
business with a.
This is
These
a medical.
clinics are medical clinics that are already state licensed and have their own
Okay.
insurance and,
All right. I don't-
liability.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Mark, any questions or comments?
Nope.
Robin?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Do you have any other questions for us regarding
Got
this?
a clear picture of what we need to put together. Yeah. Thank you.
You good? Okay, wonderful. Excellent discussion on this. Look forward to seeing the next version. Okay, moving on to new business. There is none unless something has come up that you wish to share, or do you want that under other business to come before the board?
It's more like carried over old business, but they can be any other business before the board, I guess. Because it's not really new.
Okay. I really think we need to switch F and G on this. So new business and then any other business to come before the board,
Yep.
before we go to board member concerns. It
Sure.
seems kind of.
We can do that.
I agree.
Doesn't get it there. So, any other business to come before the board? We're gonna do that.
Yeah, start now, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Novel Energy has requested an extension for September, and they wanted to know if there was any fee. It's the Condeco solar array. They have yet to pay their application fee or the square footage. So we're gonna request that on Thursday, when I call Suzanne. And she wants to know if there's any extension fee as well.
We have never,
We've never charged an extension.
and there's nothing in the fee
That was
schedule
something
for
we
that.
discussed back when I was on that side, about a timeline of how long we're going to let them linger without doing anything,
There should be,
Have they?
a time limit.
there should be a limit
Yeah.
because things, laws and so on can change. if this drags on.
So,
In other towns that I service, it's a 1 year.
yeah, so they got their permit on the 26th of September last year. Have they put a shovel in the ground? Have they done any
They
substantial?
haven't done.
Okay, so they haven't even done it. So usually you get a year from your approval to commence work, and then if you have substantial commencement of work, you get another year to complete it. If they've not commenced work, then they have, they have a year, so they have till September 25th this year to commence work. Most towns will usually do 6 months from the date of their expiration. So that would take them through till, are they asking for 6? Or?
They just said an extension. They didn't say
Okay, it's
how.
usually 6, and in rare cases, if they can make a good case, 12. So that would take them through to what? What's that? So,
February.
yeah, maybe March of 2025. So,
March.
and again, they have to have good reason. You can't just get an extension for nothing.
Right.
Otherwise, we're going to have to reapply again because it will be void after a year.
Did they give a reason?
They did not.
And is this a formal request that they put in, or are they just talking to you about
They
it?
called me on the phone.
Okay. It'd be nice to have something in writing for a formal.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
reasons.
Yeah, absolutely, and then they can also, attend a meeting and give a presentation about the reasons if they so wish.
So do we have, I don't recall seeing anything in site review for the 1 year from approval to commence the work and so on. I mean, it could be
I
there,
think
I
so,
missed it.
I'm going off my general recollection of most places. I will see if it's in there in the ordinance
If
somewhere.
it's not,
Is
it
it not?
should be.
Yeah.
We need to revise that. I mean, it hasn't really been a problem, so, but I'm just concerned we have 2 projects here that are just hanging on. I don't see anything in here about that. Mark or Robin, do you recall?
There we go.
this? Yeah,
Sorry, I think I just found it. It is in there. Project must be commenced within 12 months of final approval and completed within 24 months. So 22, yes, of the.
Once they've started.
Once they've started,
Once
yeah.
they've
And
started.
approval shall be due to have expired unless a special schedule has been approved by the planning board or an extension has been granted by it. Any deviation from the project as approved shall require revision to the approval.
but if they haven't, okay,
Where was that, Joel?
That is in H.
4847.
8487
Yeah.
each.
So what about okay. Okay, so what about a situation where, well, before I move on to that, so we're set for here then, right? So you know what, we need to have a letter for them with a valid reason. Okay, so what about situations where they've completed a site review, but 1 item or 2 items is missing, it hasn't received approval yet for completeness? And should there be a time limit for that?
Within the application process, or
So if they drag it out and do not provide the necessary information, how long should that be kept viable, waiting for that before it's denied or,
Like,
Interesting question.
we're waiting for financial responsibility from the underwriter for the storage, Simply Storage in Madison. And how long are we gonna let them drag on?
I don't know if we've got anything specifically in there. It's usually a case of, well, if they don't have everything, then they don't have a valid application, so the board isn't obliged to make a decision upon it.
Right,
Yeah.
but let's say they come a year later, or, 16
Yeah,
months later and say, oh, I finally have this, let's move forward.
Yeah, we're gonna start over.
So, I mean, I think there should be something in the ordinance that gives a limit for,
Yeah, okay.
materials.
It's unusual because usually it's like making sure that the board, acts within a certain amount of time, not the applicant. So,
Right,
yeah, I don't know. I don't think we have anything written to say that. I mean, common sense would say. I'll double check, but.
is that something we
Maybe
should
we need
look
to
at?
act on it not being here, and it's denied, and then you can come again when you get it.
Exactly,
Yeah, I think that's.
but that should be in the ordinance, so
Yeah, it'd be
that,
interesting. I'll see if there's anything there we can, interpret for that side. It's usually about the board's responsibilities, not the applicant's.
okay. Yep, we'll look forward to some information on that, because
Okay.
my concern is, some of these can drag on, people on the board can change, the personal officer can change, and then they decide, oh, here I have these papers, and they haven't been part of the process, and no one knows what's going on. And situation could change completely, so, okay. Any other business?
I'm done.
Denise?
Can I have just a point of clarification on, I'm sorry to go back to chapter 170, on the 500-foot buffer to any other structure? Is that only on neighboring properties, or is it on their own property as well? Because I don't think, so if they want to put up another structure on their 2-acre property, are they restricted, they have to have it more than 500 feet away? That's what
No.
I want to make sure
It
that,
wouldn't be on the same property. It'd be any adjoining.
okay, so I just want to make sure that
Make
that
sure
would
that's
be
clear.
clarified.
Okay.
So abutting properties, I
Yeah.
guess. Okay. Excellent question. Great.
Just go back on solar, I was thinking about it for a second. Technology's moving fast in this new world we live in. And there's a lot of new companies coming in with these solar, they're not your local neighbor putting up a business. Everything I read is that they're good for 20 years. What happens if that company goes through bankruptcy? The liability of removing those panels
They
is
were
gonna be
bonded.
a fortune.
They were bonded,
Should be money
state
around.
fund before their, that was part of the site review, is they're bonded.
Thank you, I didn't know the answer to that.
There should be some money somewhere, so if they disappear off the face of the earth, that money is accessed and used
That's
to.
big money to get rid of those things.
Yes.
Yeah. It should, and the bonding should, the decommissioning plan should be reviewed every so often to make sure it keeps up with the costs. Yeah.
The cost goes up every day for waste removal.
Don, anything?
I'm comfortable, thank you.
Okay.
Well said.
Mark?
No, thank you.
Robin?
I'm all set.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.
Just
Oh,
want to, sorry, very quickly,
sorry.
just formally introduce Melanie
Oh,
Weston,
yes.
who will be the planner going forward. Again, I'm here to support with everything, fill in the history, and I will help as needed. She will be the regular presence here now. She is. I'll let you talk about yourself.
Hi, my name's Melanie Weston. Last time I was in this room, I was in the first grade, so it's very weird. I'm from Madison. I graduated Carrick High School, but I've been gone for about 16 years. I recently finished about 10 years experience in historic preservation and private construction. So I'm very used to coming at this from the other side. So I'm excited to kind of fill a new role from the municipal side, and very excited to be back in Maine.
And
You've got
welcome.
one very important.
I'm Jeff's cousin.
Relationship with Weston.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a few.
Welcome home.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Thanks, man.
Okay, that being said,
Benjamin
meeting is
Weston is
adjourned
what
at
you-
7:30.
He is my, which one? Deacon
The
Ben?
original.
Deacon Ben, he's our what? He's my, like, I think, sixth great grandfather?
Yeah, I'm 11th generation, I think you're 12th generation.
Yeah,